and welcome back to King's Forum podcast with Mike and Karo. Today, we are going to discuss a special guest. We're going to have a special guest, and you probably wonder why am I doing the intro? And you're going to know in a little bit. So today we're gonna interview. I am gonna interview a very special guest that's gonna come to our podcast in a second. And as an intro, he loves music. He loves the 90s, and he loves to be vulnerable. So without further ado, welcome to stage, Michael.
Hi everyone. Yeah, this is something we wanted to do to put me on the spot and ask me some in-depth questions and me be the focal point for once. It's normally the guest, but today we thought we'd do something different for the K method.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gonna be fun. I prepared some questions that are meant to be light. So let's have a discussion. Let's have a conversation. And if you decide to go deep at any point, you can. So I just it comes from a place of curiosity, and I'm sure that all the listeners will appreciate to know you a little bit better too. Shall we start? Are you ready?
yeah,
Okay. How are you today?
I'm all right. I'm good.
Yeah.
It-
So,
yeah.
what is that you're grateful for today?
What am I grateful for? Hmm, that's a really good question. Um, the house I live in. Um, um, Good friends around me, family. That's always the things that stick in my head for, what I'm grateful for on a daily basis. My wife, um, and just at the moment, the mindset is positive, and I'm in a happy and joyful mood, and I'm in a thought process of achieving an accomplishment. So that always makes me feel good inside. So it's the anxiety, and yeah, it's very little now, and it feels like I'm in control of things. So it's nice to have that feeling when I get up in the mornings of, you know it's down to me to how my day, how I want my day to go. I'm in
Hmm.
control of this. I have the power. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think gratitude is such an important thing, isn't it? Um,
Mm.
Great. Next question. What is the biggest change you have noticed between the person you are today and the one you were at the beginning of last year?
Beginning of last year. That's interesting.
It's
It's
a
a big,
nice time span.
yeah, no, it is. It is. So what's the difference? You
What's
know,
the difference?
the big, I think things in life affect how you are and as a person, and through experience, good or bad, they impact your life, and whether you realize it or not, they change you or can change you. Maybe a little bit, or sometimes a big deal, depending on how you've dealt with that experience and how you've come through it. So having COVID last year in March, as I mentioned in one of the earlier episodes, that definitely had a big impact. As I said, it was negative first of all, and once I came out the side of that, um, I definitely felt more positive about things. So I think what it's done is um, helped me really appreciate what's important in my life.
Hmm.
So as I said about my mindset now, it's all about trying to achieve less procrastination and you know really just pondering over things before I actually make actions and deliver what I want to deliver, and a bit of
Hmm.
clarity of thought, and just looking at the brighter side of life, even during a pandemic. It's still always thinking about joy and happiness, and how what makes me happy and what makes others happy, and that's what I would say. A bit more clarity of thought, and a bit more appreciative of what I have.
Mm-hmm.
Focusing on those things in my life instead of looking at the things I haven't quite accomplished yet and the things that I don't have right now. But we need to focus on the most important things, and health to somewhat at the moment. There's still ups and downs with dealing
Yeah.
with long COVID, but it's a lot better than what it was last March. So focus on the positives and just try and accomplish and do what makes you happy. And I think that's my mindset. It's a bit more focused and clear on appreciating what I have instead of just dwelling on what I haven't achieved and what I haven't accomplished in my life.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost like looking towards what's possible rather than moving away from what's impossible. Really good. Awesome. That leads me to another question. What do you have currently in your life that you no longer want?
Interesting. um I'm gonna go with emotions, anxiety, um negative thoughts, um and this around the fear side. That's what I don't want in my life anymore, because
Mm-hmm.
that holds me back from achieving. So
Mm-hmm.
I would, as little as I can feel those feelings and emotions, that's what I'm working on, and constantly looking at the brighter side of things and trying to accomplish. So, those are the things I don't want because they're just negative. I don't want
Yeah.
negativity, and I don't want to be around negative people. So
Yeah.
anything to do with the opposite of um positive energy and moving forwards and not dwelling on what went wrong or what didn't quite work out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, learning from experiences, good or bad, and just moving on. That's all I'm focused on this year. And I don't want to dwell or think about what hasn't worked or what I didn't do right. Just move forward and learn from it.
So move forward and learn from it. You mentioned fear, and in my practice, I like to work with negative emotions like that, because it's always awesome to see the other side of it and how a person can change it in just like that, into something positive. And so when we look at the negative emotions, we always know. I know what is on the opposite of it. So, for example, for fear, is a big emotion that a lot of people have right now. Um, the opposite of fear, or the emotion of power that can delete fear, let's say, or neutralize fear, is curiosity and then gratitude. So that's why I did ask the question, what are you grateful for? Um, so remembering on what's grateful, having the journal, or speaking about it on a daily basis helps it. So just just keep on going. This is really good. And so, what do you not have in life that you now want?
A career I really love and enjoy. That's really. I'm not. I don't focus on what I don't have. I'm looking at what I do have, and what I want to achieve. Yes, it's for me. That's all attainable. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too worried about that. I'm just making steps towards that goal rather than saying, "Oh, I don't have this yet," and I really want to do this or what have you. I
Yeah.
know there's a process to real accomplishment and success. Yeah, it's not going to
Mm-hmm.
happen overnight, and I'm on that process. I'm on that journey to get to that point. So there's no point focusing too much on, oh yeah, or I want this and I want it to be the most successful podcast in the world and what have you. These are early days. These are baby steps. So
That would be awesome, though.
you know, of course it would. But to get to that, is this part. You know, you need to put the
Yeah,
work in and the effort in and build and grow and develop into something the viewers love and they want more of. You know, so
definitely.
it's not really, I don't really focus too much on that. I know of the goals, but that's not taking it. I know there's a process to that, so I'm focusing on the process rather than the
Mhm.
actual goal. Yes, I'm thinking, yeah, this is where I want to be at, but you know, I realize that the process is the most important thing because that's where I'm going to make my, you know, I'm going to learn the most from.
The biggest breakthroughs, yeah, definitely. So aiming towards knowing you know the direction, right?
Yeah.
And that's what matters. And you just say you're gonna have the breakthroughs as you go. And so when you go through life and you go towards the dreams, you encounter all different sorts of people and situations. So my next question is about people. What do you value in people?
The biggest thing is kindness. That's the biggest thing. And, you know, I get it from my mom because she's really good at spotting that in people, no matter how, you know, everyone has their flaws and things that aren't, you know, maybe, you know, the best way to go about things or behaviors. You know, but we're not perfect. So there's always going to be something that people don't quite like about someone or people don't like about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think kindness, I think having a heart and caring for people and others and not just being all about themselves and putting others first at times, not all the time, of course, because you still need self love and to love yourself and appreciate who you are. But
Mm-hmm.
having that in you to that ability and that awareness of, you know, wanting to care and, you know, wanting the best for people, you know, that's the biggest thing.
Awesome. And I think for people who don't know you, I think you are one of the most kind person that I know. So I think it's usually we see where we are, or so it's easier for you to notice that. I think
Oh,
your
thank you.
mom taught you well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so move away from people. If you had, have some fun. If you had superpowers, what would be yours?
What about something like this? From there was two I was thinking of, and I think this having the first thought was invisibility
Okay,
to be able to go
interesting.
wherever and no one can say anything.
Hmm.
So go and visit, go in and go into you know, wherever 10 Downing Street. Uh,
Yeah. Oh shit, that would be
and
interesting.
see what goes on behind closed doors. Obviously, I'm not concerned about Boris in the bedroom or anything, but I mean, just the conversation. The
You
White House.
just went there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Had to put something in. The White House, going to the White House. What's the conversations behind closed doors when
Yeah.
no
Hmm.
cameras are on and they're just being themselves? What is the situation? You know, I know he's no longer there, but Trump and Melania, the conversations they have around the dinner table. Do they eat together? Do they
Yeah.
make children? I'm just that fascinates me. Is these people in positions of power? You know, this obviously is so for me it's a front, yeah, and people may say they're being themselves or whatever, but most of the time I
Mhm.
believe it's a front they're putting on to the
Yeah.
public, how they need to be,
Yeah. They play a role. Yeah, definitely.
how they putting themselves across. um so I want to see them when there is no front and they're just, you know, Trump in his jogging pants and, you know, in the morning, or I don't know. Does he have when he's having breakfast in the morning? Is he just in his briefs and a vest or something? I don't know.
Yeah. And
Right?
does he ever tire? Does he say I'm tired? I cannot deal with that.
And that was my first thought. The real one, which would give me more satisfaction, is the power to heal people.
Hmm.
and I mean in
Yeah,
any, and
yeah,
I'm
that would be awesome.
from
Don't
any.
you think that would also, you know, I hope that there will be other people like you
Mm.
as well, because that would be the new type of medicine rather than depending on medicine. We'll have those kind of people like you
And an
who
interesting
heal.
thought that came to me as well is, the people where it's not. It depends how far gone it is, because that's too vague. What I was gonna say, depends on how far gone, because then they would need me to step in and heal. But there'll be
Yeah,
some people that would come to me if this was known that this was my gift, and want to heal for things I believe they can heal themselves with. So the shortcuts to getting there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
for instance, alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
So someone might come to you and say, "Look, I've had this problem for years," and say, "Look, you can just touch me, and then I won't have this problem anymore." And those type of people, I would speak to them and say, "No, I'm not going to do that, because
Yeah,
biggest healing
because
is healing yourself."
you would want them to go through the journey and discover things that they.
That's what you need. That's like,
Yeah,
as I said, it's a shortcut.
yeah.
I wouldn't really be healing them if I just touched them and cured it like that. The healing,
Mm-hmm.
again, we're going back to the process, the journey. That's where the healing comes in, and realizing that and moving on. And yes, I would direct them to the right support that they can get and things like that, but I wouldn't heal them instantly. I'd say, look, this is a process you need to go through, and this is the
Yeah.
journey you need to take.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you come out the other side of that, that's the real value in the journey. Is once you come through the process, is the outcome, and coming on the other side of something that was really, destroying your life, and now,
Mm-hmm.
like almost like the promised land, coming to this
Yeah.
this point where you've come through this now, and the person you become from that journey is so much better and stronger than you were when you first started.
Yeah,
So,
it's all about the becoming, isn't it? Because then, if they don't become that the new person, they will take that old person without a problem to another destination and recreate that problem again. Probably.
yeah, because for me, if I healed them, I believe they'd go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause there's free will as well in certain things, isn't there?
Yeah.
So they might go back to it because the shortcut, because they've not gone through the journey.
Mm-hmm.
They might become an alcohol addict again.
Yeah.
So that's what I've come up with. That was me. That sounded, because the healing part is that whole. It's not just about me; it's about others as well, and the satisfaction you get from helping others and making other people happy, and you know that
Mm-hmm.
that would be worthwhile. That would be a superpower you'd go home and you'd smile about and say, "Look, I made a difference in this person's life," rather than, "Oh yeah, I'm the richest man in the world," or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
That would be fun, the invisibility, but the real side and the real value and satisfaction I'd get from healing people who can't get the medical care or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever their problem is healing them, and have a nice talk about why I've done it, and
Yeah.
and a nice message to them. I won't just do it and go. I'd have a conversation and sit down and say, this opportunity I've given you right now, please make the most of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And all I ask of you is to help others and spread good in this world and make a difference in any way you can, but just a positive way. So that's how I'd look at it. You know,
I hear you. Do you believe in law of attraction or manifestation?
I do, I believe in it all. I believe there's something in all of it. I believe in the laws of attraction, positive thinking, manifesting things, and for me, it all comes to one point though. So yeah, I get something from it all. Religion, everything. I get bits from everything. I'm not one of these people that are very close minded. I'm open minded. and I take from, you know, I take bits from everything that I feel
Mm-hmm.
I connect with. Yeah, there's some connections with bits of thought processes, religions, you name it. So yeah, I take bits from all of that. So I believe some of it all, but I'm also at the mindset of don't get too hooked up on these things. Don't get too consumed by it, because what you stop doing is living your life and with a sense of freedom, because you always think you're bound by these practices or ways of thinking or mindsets that you have to have for things to materialize or come your way. So I'm all for, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. If
Mm-hmm.
you want something enough, and again, going back to the work side of it and putting the effort in, because a lot of people think, oh yeah, I could just want it and I'm going to will it. So the more I think it's going to come this way and I'm going to achieve, that's going to be enough. And don't realize that no, you still have to work at it. Yeah, this may be your path and you know you're good at it, but you still need to put the work in order to see
Mm-hmm.
the fruits of your labor. So I get it. I get it all. I'm neither one thing or the other. I just know that for me and my mindset, where there's a will, there's a way. So the more you want something, but then realize that you have to put in a work in order to achieve it as well. So there's the work behind it and willing it. So that's what I'm on anyway. That's what I think
Mm-hmm.
when I hear
So
these.
the law of manifestation or attraction is what you make it. Is that is that what it is? Because it's different for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
I feel like there is a lot of discussion going on around it lately, because people are getting paying more attention into what's possible, and their needs and their desires, and how to make it happen for themselves. I actually think that law of manifestation is almost manifestation is you. It's on a deeper level than is everything. Is everything. It goes everything about you goes into it. It's not oh, I want to have a 100. I want to have money, and then you find 100 pounds on the street. However, I know people like that. They're manifesting money on daily basis. So I don't know what it is about.
Yeah,
Maybe this is a money mindset that they have. That money comes easy, and indeed they are seeing things that probably some other person wouldn't see,
no,
because their mindset is focused on towards that, and that's also a part of it, I think.
no, I hear you 100%. And people
Yeah.
have that thought of, yeah, I just want this, I just want that, I just want that, and they keep on focusing on it. If I think about that a number of times a day, then it will come my way. You know, like this.
Yeah, I think there must be certain a level of emotion attached to it,
Mm.
because that's what creates the vibration as well. Um,
So the big thing about all of this is the universe, yeah, is
mhm.
putting it out there and being connected with it.
Are you spiritual?
Yeah, yeah, I am. I am. It's funny because I was brought up as a Christian, and my wife's an atheist, which is interesting. Because I never thought growing up, always thought I'd marry a nice Christian woman.
Hmm.
Now I've got a nice atheist woman. So and I, I kind of moved away from it and started questioning things about the Bible and stuff, and really looking into it. Once I got into my later teens, and I went to a church secondary school as well, church.
Oh
Uh,
wow. Hmm.
St Mark's Church of England school is closed down now. Funny enough, is it had one of the worst reputations in London. Actually, it's been one
Oh
of the,
wow.
for violence and all sorts used to go on there. Yeah, so very
Did you
rough.
know? Did you notice a lot of violence when you were there?
That was awful. I could, that's
Yeah.
time for all the stories because because you had gangs from because of where it was in. West London. It's like Southwest London. It was easy to get there from South London and West London. So you had some South London and West London gang
Oh
members
yeah.
in school. So the clashes there and other gangs coming, after school and waiting for certain individuals to beat them up, and yeah, there's all sorts. So yeah, it was a very violent and rough experience growing up. They had to close it down. So it was a
Yeah.
Church of England school, and it still got closed. See what I mean? So it was a complete opposite to what it was meant to be about. Because we would have the assemblies where we would sing psalms, sing psalms and stuff, and read psalms. Sorry, and hymns, and so we proper, we'd go visit church as well, and so
Yeah.
it was really, a religious school. So it's interesting how the kids went the complete opposite way. So
Wow.
to me, that tells me that it was more about the parents and not the children.
Yeah. So how does it did it affect you seeing all that? That must have been really difficult.
Oh, it was tough. It was horrible. It was horrible. Things you'd see in movies was going on in the school in regards to the beatings.
Yeah.
You know? Like kids coming with baseball bats and beating people up, and
London for you guys. London, wherever you are, you're listening.
that's
No,
one.
but I think
That's one
go on.
reality. London's
Yeah.
not. London's not all that bad. It depends what area, and that was a time, and I'm sure what was going on would be nipped in the bud now, because I don't know how teachers and whatever wasn't stopping this or waiting. I don't. There's a lot of not wanting to get involved and not calling the police.
Afraid. Yeah.
Yeah, because that should have been. There's no way gangs should be coming down and beating up kids at schools and stuff like that. You
Mm-hmm.
see that as much now. I'm sure the teachers or police and the local authorities will be involved, and they weren't at all back then. So
Yeah.
I remember thinking at the time, like, why ain't there no teachers or adults around? Why are kids, facing this after school or lunchtime? You know, so
Yeah.
yeah, going to a religious school. So I kind of after that, I kind of went another way and started looking at, being connected to the universe, um, aware of spirits, good and bad, um, and just really having my own mindset, because I felt at the time when I was going to a church school, a lot of the time was a lot about. I felt like it was almost like a conditioning, a way people wanted you to be, rather than that freedom of thought. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's a higher power, of God, you know, and for me, that's connected with the universe.
Yeah.
That's my way of seeing it, rather than it being this one person or this Caucasian gentleman with a beard and curly hair. You
Let's speak about that.
know,
What about Black Jesus?
like, jeez.
I wanted to ask from a perspective of, because I've seen people talking about it. What about it? Is this real? Is this how do we know that? And is it important to know?
Yes, if that's what you believe in, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'll draw the line about. I don't buy into any of that too much. I'm not. Just the thing about having my own mind. But if you follow the Bible, he was someone of color.
He was definitely. He was
So
in a Palestine, Jerusalem, like they were. Yeah, 100%.
they're people of color. They're not Caucasian. So
Mm-hmm.
that was all about. That's a conversation for another time. It's too in depth. The why we've had white images and come out, and you know
Yeah.
it's a deep one. It's a long, but yeah, he was a person of color. The short of it, if that's what you believe in, then you need to know as a person of color Jesus was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's where that comes from, and it's all about flipping that script of, oh no, actually he was white because he was a savior, he was white. No,
No, yeah. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, that route.
he couldn't be someone of color because he was the Messiah, the
Hmm.
anointed one, yeah. And he came and saved us, and so that's where it's coming from. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm not really. I don't hang on all that stuff, but I liked finding that out and really digging deeper. I remember at the time when I first heard, I was very young, and I was like,
Hmm.
why would they do it? And the more I became aware of kind of race and you know um, racism um, and discrimination, as I grew older and wise, and I experienced things myself and other people of color around me, and I started becoming aware of things, and that was good. That was a good education. So what I would say about that is, yeah, that's very true. He was
Hmm.
someone of color.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Let's come back to because as I said, that's another we can talk about it. We had discussions and conversations around that topics as well, which would be interesting if people want to hear. If you guys want to hear more talking about that, um, that would be awesome. I'll come from a curious place, and would love to hear more. Definitely. Um, Next question: what was the scariest thing you have ever done?
Done. Hmm. Scariest thing I've ever done. This is a tough one. I've never really thought about that. Something that was I was scared of doing, and I did it anyway.
Yeah.
Hmm. I've not really done really scary things. When I think about my life and stuff, and I've stuck in my comfort zone. There's nothing really, you know. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's come now. Because what I
What
was
is it?
about, like really something like that was adventurous or whatever. No, it's the scariest thing I've ever done is changing careers.
Oh, I remember that.
It's going from, my first change of being a retail manager or retail specialist. I had various roles in retail to then going into teaching and being a teaching assistant.
Hmm.
That was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. The way I felt that morning on the way to school, the fear in me. I was about, what was I? It was a walk from the station. It was about 5 minutes away from the school, and I was on the verge of turning back.
Unbelievable. Wow.
The
What was
anxiety
going what was going through your head?
and what the hell am I doing? Why the hell am I? Have I come out of my comfort zone of 20 something years to go into something I have no idea whether I'm going to be good at it, whether I'm going to be a success at this. Am I going to suck? Are the kids gonna just take the mick with me and just make me feel like I'm just a waste of space? What all these negative thoughts were coming through my head, and I remember that feeling. That was one of the worst feelings I've ever felt. Of when you talk about vulnerability and feeling out of your comfort zone, and I felt alone. It's almost like feeling naked, stripping you
Hmm.
from everything that that you know of, and you're just out there. And if
Yeah.
you feel alone, feel like, look, I've put myself in this situation, and it's like you're being fed to the wolves or something. You know,
So and the wolves being the kids.
yeah, 100%.
I'm just joking.
Especially teenagers,
But
because it was secondary.
I can imagine how it must have felt. There's this part of judgment there going on as well. I think. and from what you said, where you were at school, how it was, and coming back to school in a different capacity as well, must have played on your mind as well, unconsciously, obviously. Interesting, huh?
Yeah, and you touched on a good point there, coming back to school.
Yeah.
Because I never really thought about that until I was in the
Mm-hmm.
classes. And I was like, and then I started, because remember, my experience of school was negative.
That's
It's,
what I mean.
it's
Yeah.
not positive. I didn't have a great, I had spells of it when I was playing football and stuff. And it was a mixed school, so meeting girls and that whole thing of when you start realizing being attracted to the opposite sex and
Yeah.
noticing about the opposite sex that you find attractive. So that there were spells of it, and a lot of laughs. Don't get me wrong, around the very violent school.
Yeah.
So the experience wasn't like, oh, it was the best place to be in, and I had flashbacks of a lot of negative stuff. So going through that and experiences, but it was nice because I would intervene because I could spot like fights and stuff in the playground. So I'd intervene and stop kids and before things escalated, and I kind of knew what
Yeah.
to do because you had some um, kids that are prone to violence as well in the school I was working in, so that could go off the rails and snap and attack other kids. So
Yeah.
so that was
So
good in that sense because
so
that was
you're coming there in a capacity of a savior rather than a hero, and that one person that was missing back then, that one adult that was missing back then. Hmm.
there you go.
Yeah.
That and they looked up to me, so it was quite nice, and I learned a lot from about myself. I think when you do things like that, you learn a lot about yourself, about how you can cope and learn quickly in a new environment out of your comfort zone. And at
Yeah.
times it's very hard. The times are very hard. At times I hated it. I didn't like being vulnerable like that and open to it, and I wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't. It didn't have enough for me because
Okay. Enough of what?
um, responsibility. Um, I was used to being in charge, so I went from being a manager to just like your support staff. So like being one of my staff members basically when I was a manager.
Mm-hmm.
So that was weird because I was used to being responsible for stuff and having my own, schedule and work the way I want. That was tough. Listening to others and working the way they want. Very difficult.
Yeah. It's different dynamic.
And they have approaches because I was my main focus there was to work with kids with special needs.
Yeah.
You would go through all the training of how you need to approach certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened and what have you, but I have my ways as a person with dealing with things. I thought
What's your best kept secret?
my best kept secret.
Since you already mentioned you have your own way to deal with things.
What's my best kept secret? I don't know. What is what don't I tell everyone? I'm pretty transparent. I think my wife used to always say um that her friends and everyone thinks I'm happy all the time. I think because she sees a lot of the grumpy. I think it's just like, people don't see that other side of you. They always think, oh, he's this lovely man and he's happy all the time. And just the other, there's two sides to everyone. And my best kept secret. No, there isn't one. There isn't one. Pretty transparent. And it comes out and people can see things about me and or things I've done or no, it's nothing really, not that I can think of that comes to mind anyway.
I just realized you have that one superpower that you wanted to have.
Oh, yeah.
Being transparent, so people don't actually
Hey,
see you.
you got
There
me there.
you go. Manifestation 101. Just like that.
These one-liners, Karo, you got me there. It was too quick for
You,
me.
you see what I mean? Okay. Do we still have time for one more question?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
So, two questions. If you were to come back in time, what era in music would you like to go back to and why? Because I know you music, so
This is a tricky one
okay.
because I'd like to experience something I've not experienced. Because it's easy to say go back to the time I loved when I was partying in my early 20s, mid 20s. I think mid 20s was the best period in the noughties, the beginning of the noughties. Um, that was my best period of partying. But I would have loved to experience partying during the 60s,
Oh, okay.
late 60s, when my mum came over and black communities were really black communities then because you know what it was as well as being together and united we didn't have a choice
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't go into the yeah as I said what I was saying in one of my other podcasts I've done is about the the segregation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was the time when the migration happened, right? Was
Yeah.
it the time when um, people used to have the doors open for the community to come in and partying together in the houses and all that?
So you didn't have a choice, and I thought we were more together as a people back then because you had to be because signs on pubs and that no no blacks, no Irish, no dogs allowed. You know,
Oh,
so
obviously I'm not from here, so I haven't. That's not part of my history, if it makes sense.
it's my mum and
But
dad
when it,
mentality when they came over. So
this
they
is
were
crazy.
promised after World War II. Um, um, the UK went to the countries within the Commonwealth to come and
Yeah.
help build up the economy of the
Mm-hmm.
UK. So that the Windrush, so you had a lot of West Indian work on a railway, helping factories, and just build up the economy over here. So they were
Mm-hmm.
promised a lot and were given very little. So that's where that all started. So
What
yeah,
was it about the music back then that
it
you
was
would like to?
you had the whole rock and roll and swinging 60s and more than the music for me because I'm not the biggest fan. It was more about because you had Motown as well, yeah. So
Yeah.
Motown coming in. So don't get me wrong, that was good, but it's more about the sense of community for me that's connected to the music. Because my mum used to talk about the parties she used to go to with my dad and just the vibe, the atmosphere,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that sense of community of our because outside of these parties or what have you, when we were back in the real world, you know, we weren't accepted or didn't feel the acceptance. Yes, because it wasn't everyone. Some people did think were okay with us, and yeah, they were right. But as a whole, we didn't feel accepted. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
feel valued. I remember my mom talking about that a lot. I'm not feeling valued, and why did she come over? Because in the West Indies and stuff, they thought the streets were paved with gold. Oh, they can make money easy. It wasn't like that. You have to work damn hard for very little.
Yeah.
You know, so so it's more about that sense of community for me and that connection to the music from that because that creates that vibe in there because that's the point you felt free. You felt free
Mm-hmm.
from everything. You got caught up in the music and that vibe and that sense of community. You felt free.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's what music does for me. You put everything else aside, you get caught up in the moment,
Hmm.
the lyrics, the beat, a dance with someone, whatever it is, you get caught up in that. You get, and everything else is, you know, it's just white noise. It doesn't have that impact to you. So that's what I got from hearing those stories from my mom. Is I wanted to see a bit of that. I didn't want to be involved in the racism or whatever, but I want to be involved in that sense of community,
That sense.
what that felt, being connected to all the other people of color around you there, who came together and just enjoyed this time, the music, and felt free of that liberation within you know, that party or that club or whatever they went to. So yeah, that's why I thought 60s.
Wow.
70s is when I was born,
Okay.
and that whole funk, soul, like a party then must have been something else. Again, my mom talks about that.
Yeah.
Parties in the 70s, that film, and we'll get into feel good. A lot of it's about a feel good vibe, and just enjoying loving life, and the sound of the music was just uplifting all the time.
It was just, yeah, it did something. It
Joy,
did something.
happiness. When I think
Hmm.
about the music of the 70s, I think of joy and happiness, when people coming together and just enjoying the sound, the vibe. That's why I would love to experience the 70s and just go back, grow a nice afro.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I could wear the platforms, but I wear the flares and the open
Oh,
shirt,
yeah. Hmm.
gold medallion,
Yeah.
this
I can imagine you now.
and, and this
Got a picture.
just getting this
That'll
fun,
be awesome.
and 80s.
80s as well. Okay. Well, what about the 80s? What was in the 80s? Remind me. What was this
Again,
era about?
there's a bit of that soul. It was more about the soul for me in the 80s and great pop music. You think
Yeah.
about Madonna and people like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
just starting out, Cyndi Lauper, and for me, Michael Jackson, coming into his prime, and for musically, I thought it's not say
Hmm.
obviously not the age, but musically, for me, his prime coming into, and that continued into early 90s for me. But 80s was that Whitney, Madonna, pop music in the UK and America was something else back then, man. And also
It was.
soul and funk music was great. Um, yeah, Diana Ross still bringing out tunes, and um, that's what that period was: pop, soul, and just getting caught up in all of that. That's what I got caught up in. That vibe was just. If you listen to the music of the 80s as well,
It's infectious, isn't it? It's almost like.
there's so many sing-alongs. There's so many sing-alongs. There's so many, hairbrush in the mirror moments, singing to songs, and yeah, and just getting caught up with that. But they're the three decades I definitely like to go back to. Yeah,
Yeah.
love
Wow.
it.
You warned me before we started that this question gonna
It could take
take you
longer.
down there.
I thought I'd just keep it short. Could take long.
But I appreciate that. This is awesome. I'm learning too. See, I was born in the 80s, and
Mm,
for me, that period obviously I resonate with.
that's amazing.
Um, so yeah, it's interesting to have heard you speaking about the other ones. My mom was also partying and wearing flares, and she was saying how they were, making them themselves and buying material, going to the
That's,
big cities to purchase it, and then just having, sneaking out of the houses so that the parents don't see, walking all the way to another town without light, uh, and then coming back, making sure that they come back before 12 so that nobody sees. So it was like just the stories she was saying. I'm like, that wouldn't be possible now. And I think I would miss that. I would love to experience that simplicity of, just being, just as you say, with people. Um, there were probably some dangers and all that stuff, but it wasn't as exposed and pronounced as it is today. So yeah, that would be awesome.
I think back then people just thought they were free when they could party.
Yeah,
They
because
thought,
there were we all were. We are now too, but I think there's so much more restriction.
yeah,
What you can, what you can't. Yeah, lots of threats going on from all the way. Lots of frustrations, and I think that's what it is. We don't spend time out with people much. I'm not talking about Corona. I'm talking in general. Is work, computer, stress. That's so. I think when you said freedom, to me, that's simplicity as well.
hmm.
I think that's what I would want to experience. So I think I've asked you most of the questions. One last question before we go would be, what is the most interesting and best question that you have ever been asked?
Wow. I've been asked a lot over the years. That's a difficult one. Some experiences that I've been through and spoken to people. What stood out? I think there's one question. Who was it as well? I'm trying to remember.
Interesting.
I'm trying to remember who said it, but the question, I think it was a conversation with a friend of mine talking years ago.
Hmm.
I think we're getting in some debate about something, and I think the question was it was about who we are as people and things, and I think it was in a discussion about that, and that self belief, and and I think the question came up is what are you afraid of, and I felt really insecure when that was said
Hmm.
because I felt I was afraid of a lot of things. I was I,
Wow.
I was young. I was I think early 20s. So I was like, what am I afraid of? I was like, that question is
Your
quite
questions.
scary. And I remember thinking that I remember feeling very vulnerable and thinking, I'm afraid of everything.
Oh wow.
I'm not secure in myself. I don't know who I want to be yet. I'm still discovering myself. So I just remember feeling like, and I can't remember. I think I said something like afraid of failure or something. I said
Yeah, because you were afraid to be discovered, huh?
because I didn't know who I was. I was
Hmm.
early 20s, having a discussion with this. I think it's an older guy or something. I can't remember that accurately, to be honest. But I just remember the question sticks out, and it was yeah, and it was just what are you afraid of?
Wow. Did he say what he was afraid of, or was it something?
No, I think it was just aimed at me. I
It
think.
was just that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just remember feeling very immature and young. I felt young. I felt younger than my age. I felt like, you know, um, early teens. I felt, you know, just become a teenager. I felt
Yeah.
when I got asked that question because I felt like it stripped away everything. This persona, my attitude at the time, that whole cockiness, um, the front I'd put on, it stripped everything back with one question. Again, I felt exposed and naked to it. So Yeah, I didn't like that. I remember that stuck out because I didn't like the way it made me feel because I didn't feel insecure on myself. So I was afraid of everything. I was afraid
Hmm.
of failure. I was afraid of starting in a career and not achieving. Afraid of not being married someday. You know, whatever. I just felt all this weight with that question.
What ifs? Yeah. Hmm.
Oh dear, but yeah, that was one of the best because I like it because yes, now I can look back, but at the time it was horrible. But when I look back at it, I think it was a good question.
I think it was a great question. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was what's your most irrational fear? But I think we've asked so many questions so far that yeah, I enjoyed learning more about you, and I hope that you guys enjoyed too. Those who listened, and yeah, just comment which one. I'm curious what people think about the um, the music and the eras that you were talking about, because I think that's quite that's so subjective for where you're from, and
100%.
what sort of community you're from, and where you were, and all that stuff. So that's just fascinating. It took me back to things that to places that I haven't experienced or heard of. So that was very, very interesting for me. I'll be interested to know what other people have thought or come up with as well. And
Def-
and 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 thank you so much for being vulnerable, Mike. I know that you love doing that, and being, as we just learned, being transparent is your favorite thing in the world.
yeah, no, it was fun.
So
Thank you very much.
yeah, what did you enjoy the most? What came up from this discussion?
Good memories, good memories,
Yeah.
um, and feeling free, and it making me think back about partying and that freedom of partying. Even in the noughties, which was my time, that really I partied a lot. Uh,
We all did.
and parts of me missed that feeling because as the years went on, it wasn't as good. The vibe, the music started, you know, getting worse. Um, the clubs started closing. The you were older, so the experiences were different. They weren't as much fun when you're naive and young and just experiencing things. Um, Pretentious clubbing became um, a lot of pretentiousness out there. Um, so a lot of things changed it for the worse for me. So it was nice to reflect on some of that and remembering the good times and periods in history that were really good for music and for what my parents and older siblings have experienced.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you very much for bringing that back up again. Again, more positive thoughts and positive vibes.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure, man. And and I enjoyed interviewing you. I was, I was totally 100% within my comfort zone, because that's what I do the best. Um, so that was nice for a change, to be on the seat of asking, and not being asked questions myself.
Maybe we'd do an
So that's
episode of asking you some questions. I think that would be fun.
I'm so excited, looking forward to it.
It's different. I won't be just trying to put you on the spot. There'll be actually decent questions that we delve in and we find some good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Okay then. Well, that's it for now. Thank you everyone for listening. Make sure to follow us on social media, the King's Forum. I think Mike, we are on Instagram. We are
Yep.
on YouTube. Make sure to like us and subscribe. Hit the bell button so that you know when the next episode goes up. And the most important, rate us 5 stars so that other people can discover us. So when you rate 5 stars, the algorithm does something and puts us on the top so that other people can discover us easier. Share, comment. That's also the most important thing. We want to hear what your thoughts are, and that helps us to make it better.
100. I couldn't say it any better. Thank you very much, guys, for watching the King's Forum podcast show. K Method with Karo,
Oh, yeah.
fun, and hope to see you guys on watching the next episode. Thanks a lot.
Stay tuned. Bye.